5.
Make sure that CC and clip ready. We need it for the second.
4.
Facts from the Clarendon correspondent coming through now.
3.
All the international stores in the folder, good to go.
2.
Newsreaders all set.
Yeah, man, everything set, everything ready.
1.
From the Grill to Morant Point, NewsTalk 93 FM has got it covered. Across the 7 seas to the 4 corners of the world, it's all captured on the 93 radar, 93.1, 93.3, 93.5, 93.7 and 93.9 on your FM dial. Real News at 5 starts now.
Afternoon, time for the 5 o'clock news roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
Coming up in this newscast, opposition blasts National Security Minister Peter Bunting for accusing the JLP of being hypocritical.
NWC says replacement of Rio Cobra pipeline will improve water supply to residents of Portmore.
West Indies group of university teachers wiggled concern with discrepancies in government's calculations.
And a court convicts man who chopped 2 women to death.
And now the details. Jamaica Labour Party JLP leader Andrew Holness has blasted the Minister of National Security Peter Bunting for labelling the opposition hypocritical regarding the UK prison deal. Quoting an article from 2010 with former National Security Minister Dwight Nelson explaining an arrangement with the UK government for a prison swap concerning some 800 prisoners, National Security Minister Peter Bunting told the post-cabinet press briefing today he was surprised by the current stance of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Issue of assistance from the British to build a new prison and also to facilitate the transfer of Jamaicans being held in British prisons to complete their term here has been going on for a long time, including with the JLP administration between 2007 and 2011. And in fact, I'm going to quote you from the former Minister of National Security this morning to expose the level of hypocrisy that they're demonstrating around this issue. But the fact is, for over 20 years, successive administrations have recognized the urgency.
National Security Minister Peter Bunting, however, addressing a JLP meeting this afternoon, Holness said the statement by Mr. Bunting was not factual.
There has always been proposals. The former Prime Minister went to 10 Downing Street, met with the then Prime Minister. The question was raised and it was dismissed. There was no agreement signed by us to contemplate a prisoner transfer agreement. That was signed by the PNP on the 26th of June 2007. And now we are now learning that there was a memorandum signed, when was it, the 30th of September 2015, again by the PNP. So you must ask Mr. Bunting, where is the memorandum that Dwight Nelson signed? If he can't bring that, then don't come here with rubbish.
Holness said the JLP did not sign the arrangement which was brought to them by the UK government because it raised several issues that needed consideration.
2 principles operated in our minds when we rejected the offer. The first one is that we were not certain that our constitution could uphold a situation where someone is being incarcerated in a jurisdiction in which they committed no crimes. Secondly, we did not believe that the people of Jamaica, in principle, would be in support of such a prisoner transfer agreement. And therefore we rejected it. It didn't matter how much was being offered to build the prison or the terms or the conditions. We objected to that in principle of a prisoner transfer agreement.
JLP leader Andrew Honus.
Meanwhile, the National Security Minister has refrained from describing the announcement of the prisoner transfer deal by British Prime Minister David Cameron as premature. Responding to questions relating to the deal, Peter Bunting said although the deal had not yet been signed, he would refrain from describing the Prime Minister's announcement as premature.
I don't want to characterize it in any particular way beyond what I said in my statement, but I think it may have given the public the perception that we're further along in the process than we actually are.
National Security Minister Peter Bunting. But opposition spokesperson on Foreign Affairs Ed Bartlett and JLP leader Andrew Holness say given the way the situation is currently being handled, they expect it to negatively impact foreign relations between Jamaica and the UK.
Beyond that, I would venture to say that this whole issue is fraught with diplomatic. Let me be very careful about this one, because this one could a diplomatic accident is imminent. I would put it no further than that.
It's an embarrassment. Because for the British Prime Minister to leave the UK, come to Jamaica, in our Parliament, say that there is an agreement, announce it on his website, official website, says it's the case. Even after protests by the minister here, it is still not changed. And then for the minister to stand up and say, well, this may not go through, is to suggest that the British Prime Minister misspoke.
Opposition spokesperson on Foreign Affairs Ed Bartlett and leader of the JLP Andrew Holness. According to the Ministry of National Security, discussions are underway regarding the deal. However, no decision has yet been reached. Bunting says it should also be expected that the deal will be taken to the Parliament before it is accepted.
Information Minister Sandria Faulkner has blasted the media for what she says were attempts to discredit her character and integrity following the concerns surrounding last week's visit by British Prime Minister David Cameron. Addressing this morning's post-cabinet press briefing, Minister Faulkner said she was initially told that interaction would be allowed between the Prime Minister and the local media.
However, for reasons unknown to me, this was changed to no questions. When this was communicated to me, I expressed my dissatisfaction to Foreign Affairs, and then I called the British High Commissioner to appeal for consideration for the Jamaican media. This call took place on Tuesday afternoon, shortly after 1 o'clock. I told the High Commissioner that it was not appropriate for the visit to happen without any interaction with our Jamaican media. I also told him that if a full-blown media event could not be accommodated, at the very least, one media house should be allowed to interview the Prime Minister.
Faulkner said she was disappointed that some sections of the media facilitated discussions bashing her character and describing her as a liar.
You can imagine my shock when I heard that the British High Commissioner to Jamaica had said that at a press briefing that barring the media from asking questions of the Prime Minister was not their doing. A subsequent statement from the British High Commission has now established that I had spoken the truth on my Facebook page. While I'm satisfied that the High Commissioner has set the record straight, there are issues that I am compelled to address today. My integrity was brought into disrepute by erroneous statements, including by members of the media who were harsh in their commentary, labeling me a liar or facilitating others who made that claim.
Faulkner, speaking this morning at the press briefing, concerns had been raised regarding the lack of opportunity offered to journalists to ask questions of Prime Minister Cameron during his stay. Following this, Faulkner issued a statement on her Facebook page in which she said the British delegation had been responsible for the lack of media from questions from the media. There were subsequent contradictions followed by a retraction from the British High Commission, which had originally blamed the Jamaican delegation for the issue.
The Ministry of National Security says it has no intention to change current arrangements governing the use of Jamaica's voter ID system to aid in criminal investigations. According to a release from the ministry, the response followed a suggestion at a meeting with the Hanover Lay Magistrates Association last week that a national identification card should be developed for all adults, which would carry biographic and biometric data. As part of his response, National Security Minister Peter Bunting commented that the elector identification cards issued by the Electoral Office of Jamaica, the EOJ, could only be used for electoral purposes and not for criminal investigation purposes. Bunting also pointed out that this commitment could not be changed unilaterally by any administration, notwithstanding that access to such a system would be helpful to criminal investigations.
You're listening to news on NewsTalk 93 FM. It's 11 minutes after 5. Acting President of the National Water Commission, Mark Barnett, is assuring the residents of Portmore that the replacement of the aged Rio Cobre pipeline will improve their water supply.
As been happening since the rains, we have had some challenges with the public supply, and JPS has acknowledged that. And we like to work together as two utilities to resolve these issues. I don't have the immediate update as to whether it has been resolved, but I know it is not being ignored in any way. And we know Greater Portmore and, well, the entire Portmore community can't do without water for any period of time. What I spoke about in terms of what investment we have done so far was part and parcel of that. We have replaced the aged Rio Cobre pipeline.
Barnett elaborates on methods to be implemented to improve the water supply to Portmore, Kingston and St. Andrew.
We have also improved a transmission system into Portmore, and that is in preparation for the installation of a new treatment plant that we are, working to see how quickly we can get it on stream. I spoke about it quite often, but, one of the ways of ensuring that there's a more reliable water supply in Kingston and St. Andrew, and to add flexibility to the system, is to add an additional treatment system, and we see the Rio Cobre as the targeted source to put that system in.
Acting President of the National Water Commission, Mark Barnett, speaking on the evening edition.
Meanwhile, Barnett says despite water restrictions in some sections of the country, the NWC is always aiming to improve resources and water distribution to residents.
If we get an increased flow, we like to ensure that it is distributed in some moderation that will cause some improvement to the customers. And the fact of the matter is we are also mindful of the projection from the meteorological office in terms of what we are likely to experience in the next coming months. So while we are easily restricted, we are mindful to ensure that we improve the source.
He says the NWC has spent some $20 billion in water supply infrastructure across the parishes to ensure that customers get the service they deserve.
I want you to put it in context. In Kingston and St. Andrew, over the period of the crisis, there are a number of people who had no restrictions, and it's just by virtue of where they live and the system that serves them. They didn't have the same problem. What you find is during a crisis period, there is always going to be to speak ill of the NWC as it relates to investment. And the truth and in fact, the NWC over the last 5 years have invested almost 20 billion Jamaican dollars in water supply infrastructure. And that would have accounted for the services that those parishes would have been experiencing.
At the same time, however, Barnett is imploring customers to continue to conserve water despite the easing of the restrictions.
Absolutely not. That's the biggest mistake, because we are still encouraging our customers to conserve, because without conservation, we are not likely to be able to serve everybody as they would like. So we want to promote, even while they are receiving improved services, to conserve. Don't stop to do the things that you were doing while we were in drought. Still conserve. Other than that, we may end up in the same situation in the last couple of months quite quickly.
Acting President of the National Water Commission, the NWC, Mark Barnett.
Chief Negotiator of the West Indies Group of University Teachers, WIGUT, Professor Hubert Devonish, says his union discovered discrepancies in government's calculations with public sector wage agreements, which created a shift in the government's position on the matter.
We identified within the government documents lots of places, the first of our papers, that in fact there was what we call double counting. We got lots of media coverage for it. The trade unions were forced to start talking up and being a little bit more militant. Some of the teachers as well started to agitate, and what happened was that the government's offer shifted from 3 and 2 to 4 and 3. Now, I'm an academic, so I would not tell you that what we did caused it, because of course we all know you can have two things side by side. It does not mean that because we did what we did that it caused the government to shift.
Professor Devonish, who was speaking at today's Lions Club of Kingston monthly luncheon at the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Kingston, says the government was tied up with demands of the International Monetary Fund. However, WIGOT expressed its opposition towards certain terms of the agreement, especially in a stagnant economy, while the government continues to pay its foreign creditors.
Quite apart from what the government was doing with juggling the budget and so on and so forth, that in the end they couldn't pay us if they didn't have the means to pay us in the long run. And that in fact the government of Jamaica was tied up with an extended fund facility with the IMF, which involved them squeezing 7.5% of the gross domestic product out to pay foreign creditors. This is what they call the primary surplus. And we said, when you do that in a situation where your economy is stagnant and you're squeezing that amount of money out in order to pay your foreign creditors, what happens is that you get stagnation, the economy doesn't grow. Is there a way that you can pay your foreign creditors differently? The answer is yes.
Chief Negotiator for the West Indies Group of University Teachers, WIGOT, Professor Hubert Devonish.
The Office of the Children's Advocate, OCA, says the cause of death of 11-year-old Akella Lewis of the Prickly Pole Primary School in St. Anne is a medical matter and not linked to a demonstration against Member of Parliament for South East St. Anne, Lisa Hanna. In an interim report based on its investigations into the September 18 incident and tabled in the House of Representatives yesterday, the OCA said the medical issue can only be conclusively resolved by a post-mortem examination and other attendant medical matters. The report concluded that there was no causal link that exists between Akella's death and the organisers of the demonstration in Claremont in St. Anne against Lisa Hanna on September 18. Hanna was at the time being challenged as the PNP's candidate for South East St. Anne by Lydia Richards, who is the councillor for the Benson Division. The appointment of chairman of the school board, Vinnet Rob Ottman, was revoked by Minister of Education Ronald Thwaites after she was accused of organising the protest against Hanna in Claremont, which included parents and students from the school.
That's your local news. For international news, we now join the BBC.
BBC News. President Obama has telephoned the head of the medical charity MSF to apologise personally for the US airstrike on its hospital in Kunduz in Afghanistan. The White House said he extended his condolences for the 22 staff and patients killed in what the US said was a mistaken attack. The American Defense Secretary Ashton Carter has dismissed suggestions that the US-led coalition fighting Islamic State militants in Syria might cooperate with Russia. His comment came as Russia said its warships launched cruise missiles against jihadist targets in Syria. Kurdish forces in northern Iraq say some of their fighters have tested positive for mustard gas after battles with Islamic State militants. The exposure is thought to have taken place during fighting in August. Turkish police have arrested 6 people suspected of minting coins to be used as currency in areas controlled by IS militants. The arrest took place in Gaziantep province near the Syrian border. Police in Albania have arrested a man who used a drone to fly an Albanian nationalist banner over a football stadium in Serbia during a European Championship qualifier last year. Ismail Morenaj was arrested with 3 other men on the eve of the return match in Albania. BBC News.
Broadcast Jamaican and NewsTalk 93 FM now gear the news in the Jamaican language.
Good evening. My name is Kadeen Marshall.
And my name is Tina Robinson, and these are the news in the Jamaican language.
The People National Party, PNP, picked Desmond Brennan, where one doctor for run against Pernell Charles in the next general election. Brennan and one long-time doctor who work at the Chapelton Hospital get the work over Larry Boderick. Yesterday, Brennan said the PMP secretariat signed off on him for run for the party. But Pernell Charles, where the MP, said Brennan will work for the government, must let him work first. But Brennan said him not for let him work because the law no say so.
OCA, where the Office of the Children Advocate, I say on nothing medical make Akela Lewis, where 11-year-old, we go Prickly Pole Primary School in a Senton dead. And never the demonstration against Member of Parliament for South East Senton, Lisa Anna, were involved some parents cause it either. In all of the report them, though it had panned the case, and what them chat about in the House of Representative yesterday, OCA said that one autopsy can start out the whole medical problem. The OCA said too that the time when the report did do, the result from the autopsy never proved nothing, and cause of that, nothing clear-cut about how the little girl dead not ready yet. The report end up as say it not see the link between how Akela dead and the people them were planned the demonstration in Claremont Senton against Lisa Anna on September 18 are the people them who did in the demonstration.
One 12-member jury found one man guilty yesterday where police ben claims that chop up and killed two women in May 2011 in a Rosemont district near Temple Hall, St. Andrew. Him named O'Brien Brissett and Justice David Fraser are going to tell him how long him going to spend in a prison for kill the two women. The lawyer them who work for the government said Brissett may have one pickaxe, one hose and one knife a beat up him girlfriend when named Topia's Garden. And when her mother go in there for help her, him use the pickaxe and chop her in her head enough time. Brissett claims that him being a defend himself when him kill the two women.
News from the Caribbean. One 3-year-old boy from Trinidad shocked cause he did it in the car with them thief and his mother and them at them yard in a Ticarigua in Trinidad yesterday evening. Although him never look like nothing do him, the little boy with them call Kaidan Andrews did have to go to Port-au-Prince General Hospital for doctor look upon him and make sure say nothing never do him in all of the Alabaloo. According to police, them say about 5 o'clock yesterday, about 5 o'clock yesterday, Kershaw, who was the mother for the little boy, tapped the silver Hyundai Tucson where she owned in front of her yard on Orange Grove Road in a Tacarigua for open her gate for driving. Police say she did left the key in the car with Kaidan in there when she go to open the gate. At the same time, one man dress up in a black, go in the car and drive off full speed.
One Caribbean airline flight will be come from New York to Kingston today, being off a stop in Florida cause the plane been have some problem. Caribbean Airline released one statement where said the flight BW016 will be come from JFK Airport to Jamaica, been have some problem. The plane stopped at the Fort Lauderdale International Airport and left off everybody. Them go put the passenger them on one next flight. Caribbean Airlines said them are looking at go on with the plane for find the problem them and fix it. Me name Kadeen Marshall.
And me name T. Robinson.
And that are the news in the Jamaican language.
Broadcast Jamaican and NewsTalk 93 FM just give the news in the Jamaican language.
The 5 o'clock Sports Roundup is brought to you by NewsTalk 93 FM, life-changing radio.
Good afternoon. I am Mikhail Drama Johns with your 5 o'clock Sports Roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM, and we begin with cricket. West Indies cricket captain Jason Holder has welcomed the decision to honour cricket icon Sir Garfield Sobers during the upcoming Test series between West Indies and Sri Lanka. The two-match series is now set to be played for the Sobers Tissera Trophy. This will play as tribute to the former West Indies all-rounder and captain, and Michael Tissera, the former Sri Lanka captain. The announcement was made by Sri Lanka Cricket at the official pre-series launch yesterday. And moving on to football, there will be increased incentives for the 16 teams that will contest this season's second staging of the Isaflow Super Cup football competition. The pool of teams, 8 each from the Da Costa Cup and Manning Cup competitions, will vie for the top prize of $1 million and the £24 Italian trophy. Meanwhile, there will be a $1,000 scholarship for the leading scorer, cash incentives for the teams that finished third and fourth. There will also be football booths from the sponsors for every player taking part in the competition. According to Vice President of Flow's marketing team, Carla Redwood, his company is spending $2.5 million on the competition, an additional $350,000 from last year's inaugural staging. Monday's KSA Business House knockout action saw Maritime and Transport beating Creative Business finishes 4-2, while Tires R Us were blanked 4-0 by Fontana Pharmacy. Administrative General's Department AGD beat Office of the Prime Minister OPM 3-1, and Tasty Limited got by RCD Group 2-0. Meanwhile, Restaurant of Jamaica and Jamaica Private Power Company Limited had to go to penalties, which Restaurant of Jamaica won 5-4. The previous score had been a 1-all stalemate. Meanwhile, Care Construction failed to show, and so their opponents, or should have been opponents, McKay Security, advanced. Further afield, Sepp Blatter has been told he is facing a 90-day provisional suspension from FIFA's Ethics Committee. This follows a move which would finally spell the end of his time as president. A meeting was held last week by FIFA's Ethics Committee after the Swiss Attorney General opened criminal proceedings against Blatter. They are over a £1.3 million payment to UEFA President Michel Platini. While Blatter's suspension has been recommended, the adjudicatory judge Joachim Eckert is yet to make a final decision. Still on football, after yesterday being arrested in Miami on money laundering charges, the president of one of Honduras's most famous football clubs is due to appear in a federal court in the United States. Yankel Rosenthal, a former minister of investment, led Marathon Football Club to win several league titles. The Honduran government have confirmed the arrest, but have, however, failed to give comment. And now to take a look at tennis. Third seed Rafael Nadal handed a second-round beating to Canada's Vasek Pospisil in the China Open in Beijing. The Spaniard won 7-6, 6-4 to set up a quarterfinal against American Jack Sock on Friday. Meanwhile, second seed Thomas Berdych lost 6-4, 6-4 to Pablo Cuevas. As for the top seed Novak Djokovic, he will play Zhejiang on Thursday. And for the women's draw, fourth seed Agnieszka Radwanska progressed, while 8th seed Caroline Wozniacki lost. The Dane went down 6-2, 6-3 to German 10th seed Angelique Kerber. Poland's Radwanska, meanwhile, led Madison Keys 6-3 when the American retired with a thigh injury. Spain's Garbi Muguruza, who retired from last week's Wuhan final against Venus Williams with an ankle problem, beat Irina Falconi 6-2, 6-1 to move within one win of sealing a place at the WTA finals later this year. And in other sports, while banned substances beyond the permissible limits were found in 3,866 samples out of 283,304 tests carried out worldwide, according to a World Anti-Doping Agency WADA report. All tests done by the Jamaica Anti-Doping Commission JADCO in 2014 came back clean. And that's it for the 5 o'clock sports roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM. I am Mikhail Drama John saying stay tuned for the business news and weather report.
The 5 o'clock sports roundup was brought to you by NewsTalk 93 FM, life-changing sports radio.
5:29 business news. The price of gasoline will remain unchanged this week. Therefore, 87 will be sold for $106.64 and 90 will be sold for $104.29 per liter. Automotive diesel, $95.93, goes up by $1.23. Ultra low sulfur increases by $4, 40 cents, big difference, to sell for $103.54. The price of kerosene moves up by 76 cents to $92.17. Propane will be sold for $35.12, up 10 cents, while butane will be sold for $40.88, an increase of 72 cents per liter.
And on the local stock market, the index advanced by 1,270.20 points to close at 99,072.69. The junior market index advanced by 13.18 points to close at 1,057.33. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 12 stocks, of which 8 advanced, 2 declined, and 2 traded firm. Market volume amounted to over 2 million units, valued at over $31 million. Sagicor Group was the volume leader, stocks advancing Carreras, D&G, Jamaica Broilers, JMMB Group, Kingston Wharves, Lime, Maybury Investments, and Scotia Group. The 2 stocks declining were Producers and Sagicor. And on the foreign exchange market, the US dollar closed at $119.23, the pound at $180.60, the Canadian at $90.75, and the euro at $134.29. That's business news.
And now a look at the weather. There's a tropical wave west of the island. This tropical wave continues to drift westward, but a persistent trough remains over the central Caribbean, weakening to a ridge on Friday. Tonight it will be generally fair. To end the news, the main points. Opposition JLP blasts National Security Minister Peter Bunting for accusing the party of being hypocritical.
NWC says replacement of Rio Cobre pipeline will improve water supply to residents in Portmore.
We got concerned with discrepancies discovered in government's calculations regarding public sector wages.
And man who chopped 2 women to death convicted in court.
That's your 5 o'clock news roundup here on NewsTalk 93 FM. I'm Errol Lee.
And I'm Andre Bernard.
The evening edition with Lambert Brown. Next.